everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. It is Thanksgiving week here in the US, so I know everyone's ready to gorge themselves on food, and I want to make sure you also have plenty of physical media to gorge on. I have a feast for you this week. We have titles, we have some of the most highly anticipated 4K titles of the year. We have great boutique labels, the Vinegar Syndrome, OCN distribution partner labels. We have Arrow Video, Deaf Crocodile, 88 Films. We have a little something from everyone, a little something for everyone. It is a jam-packed episode. I will apologize up top that there is a lot to get through, and especially since there's so many boutique labels, there's a lot of intricate packaging to get through. But I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as possible while still giving you all that you need to know about every single release. And I'm going to start with one of the most highly anticipated, highly requested releases over the past decade or so. It is the 4K Ultra HD debut of Paper Moon from the Criterion Collection. This is one of the great films from the late director Peter Bogdanovich. This has not had a high definition release in the US previously, so we're going straight to the 4K. 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc underneath. I can take that out so you can see the packaging a little bit better. This is made to kind of mimic Addie's little box that she carries around, so you can kind of see that underneath. I'll get a little bit closer underneath there. So yes, 4K and Blu-ray disc, both from the same base master. I'll get into kind of the restoration details here in a second. You also have a little postcard of the titular Paper Moon here. And then you also have a fold-out booklet / poster here that I will on. You got some of the details here. So the essay Partners in Crime from Mark Harris, and then a little bit of a poster and stuff here, kind of. So for those who don't know, Paper Moon is about it's the real life father-daughter pairing of Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal, as young Tatum O'Neal, who she won an Best Supporting Actress award for this. She's the youngest ever to do it. She plays a young girl who's been recently orphaned after her mama dies. A gentleman who knew her mama comes into town and agrees to take her to her aunt's house, like a couple states away. But along the way, they start to bond. They start pulling cons together. He's kind of a con man and kind of teaches her the ways, and she actually ends up being kind of a better con man than he ever was. So it's kind of their dynamic evolving, and just like she kind of has like an underlying feeling that he is her daddy. He keeps denying it, but they nonetheless start to form like kind of a kinship. And seeing that develop is really heartwarming, but there's also some dramatic beats along the way. And just the way this evolves very naturally, it's one of the great movies, one of Peter Bogdanovich's best movies, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And I am so glad it finally got a 4K release. So, as I said, this has not been released on HD domestically previously. This comes from a new 4K restoration of the original camera negative, in 1.66 by 1, which is a little bit of a controversial aspect ratio. Traditionally, it has been exhibited in 1.85 by 1 in the past. Criterion located some director notes from Bogdanovich saying he always intended for the film to be in 1.66 by 1. So there's a slightly different aspect ratio than's been released on physical media ever before. But they did it with the intention of honoring Bogdanovich's wishes, and in collaboration with Paramount, they kind of agreed, like they kind of okayed this as well. So I just want to keep people aware of that, for those who are just maybe see the aspect ratio and is wondering what's going on, that's kind of what has been relayed by the Criterion Collection. And this restoration looks fantastic. It has Dolby Vision. It's been cleaned up very well. I did not notice any lingering nicks or scratches or anything like that. This is a black and white movie, so the grayscale is very like deep black levels, no blown highlights. All that stuff looks fantastic. Original mono soundtrack. And you got some new special features. I have a commentary track, introduction, video essays, making ofs, interviews, a Tonight Show segment from when the film was released with Johnny Carson, and more. So packed release, fantastic audiovisual presentation. Criterion Collection has made a lot of fans very happy with this one. So Paper Moon, finally on 4K for fans, it is definitely worth it. Something that you haven't had to wait as long on. Well, it depends on how you look at it. We're going to our Warner Brothers section of the podcast where we had the new release of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the new sequel to the original Beetlejuice that comes over 30 years after the original one. Michael Keaton is returning, so is Tim Burton, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara. A lot of people returning, and then you have new people like Monica Bellucci and Jenna Ortega. So this is one of the more successful movies of this year. So I won't delve deep into it. I just say I love the original Beetlejuice. This isn't quite up to the level of that one, but I think it's a respectable follow-up, and it gets Tim Burton back more into a mode that I like to see him in. He hasn't really like been knocking out of the park for like the past decade or so. There's been minor upswings here and there, but overall not the most consistent track record over the past decade. But Beetlejuice, it is fun to return to this world and see him still kind of try to keep things more practical and not go fully digital crazy in here. So overall, I did like the movie, and this 4K release is nice. It's in Dolby Vision, nice bold colors, deep black levels, no faltering anywhere in the encode. This is a brand new movie, so it looks fantastic. Dolby Atmos, sounds great, very immersive. They use the height channels very well. And has a good number of special features. You get the rare Tim Burton audio commentary track, which is fun. You get a 28-minute making of, and 6 additional featurettes as well that kind of delves into small facets of the movie. So overall, good release from Warner Brothers. One of the big movies of the year, and it is now in 4K in time for the holiday gift giving. Which I think is kind of a theme. They wanted to get all of these out just in time for the holidays, including the next 4K release of another classic comedy. This is a 4K debut of Blazing Saddles from the great Mel Brooks. This is the tale of a black man who is put in charge. He is put in charge of a small town. He's chosen to be sheriff in order to kind of be a pawn in the larger, like, white kind of power figure in town's kind of his pawn in his game. But he gets kind of more than he bargained for. It's very subversive. It's very offensive, but in like a knowing way. It's Mel Brooks, so he knew when to use offensive comedy to kind of drive home a satirical point. It's not something that I think people can really take as easily these days, but for the time and what they were accomplishing, I think it is a very it's a respectful comedy in its offensiveness, but it is very funny. It's take on a classic Western tropes, and they just kind of take all that and spin it on its head. It still makes me laugh, and it's kind of third wall breaking in the final act of the movie is still just it's brilliant. So this 4K release, it is a nice upgrade. I had the original Blu-ray from back in the day. This was released on in 2014, I believe, with a more advanced codec. So it wasn't like the ancient codec that was originally around. So I do not have that 2014 release. I have the older one, and based on the older Blu-ray, this is a really nice upgrade. And I think it is still a nice upgrade from what I've seen with the screen caps of the 2014 release. This is an HDR10, but this is from a 4K scan of the original camera negative. And this is mimicking the classic Western movies, but it's also shot to be as beautiful as those movies. So the wide Western expanses really shine in 4K in HDR10. Nice dusty landscapes that gets the nuances of the colors. Not much in the way of like lingering damage or anything. This has been cleaned up very well from the team at MPI at Warner Brothers. And this has been given a new Atmos track as well as retaining the original 2.0 mono track. So if you're an audio purist, you do have that original audio option, or if you want something more grand and bombastic, you do have the Atmos track, which also sounds pretty solid. You do get most, not all, of the archival features carried over. You get a commentary track, 21-minute retrospective, some featurettes, some deleted scenes, but there are a few things here and there that did not make the transition, and that is going to be a common theme over the next couple of Warner Brothers 4K releases. Since there is no included Blu-ray, they leave off a few of the archival special features, but overall, this is a really fantastic release for one of the great Mel Brooks comedies. I welcome all Mel Brooks comedies on 4K. We already have Spaceballs already on the format, so just keep it up. Blazing Saddles does a nice job on 4K. Another classic director, a lot of classic directors in this episode. It is Alfred Hitchcock's classic North by Northwest with old Cary Grant in a crazy case of mistaken identity. I love this movie, but then there are also times whenever his character does not act with the best sense of self-preservation that drives me mad, but it's still classic movie, fantastic. And I am glad that this made the jump to 4K, because we've gotten so many Alfred Hitchcock 4Ks from the Universal side, less so from other sides. So I'm glad Warner Brothers digging in a little bit. Hopefully MGM gets like Rebecca and Spellbound and all that stuff out in 4K sooner rather than later. So North by Northwest looks really nice in 4K. This comes from what is said to be a new restoration. I do not know all the particular details, but it is an HDR10. The original Blu-ray was actually really fantastic, and the upgrade from that to this is not as stark as some upgrades, but it is still the best the film has ever looked, especially color-wise. The HDR10 really brings a lot of nuances out of the color. But also you do not get any, like most of like the lingering damage or anything like that. There are a lot of optical shots on here, so whenever there are scene transitions, there are minor downturns, but not quality-wise of the encode, but just normal optical effects. If you're used to watching older films, you'll know whenever a scene transition happens, there's usually a minor downturn, so be aware of that. But it's just a part of the film, so we're glad that they didn't try to DNR it to hell and just ruin its natural qualities. There is one kind of shot in the end when they're in the forest that does look a little bit DNR'd, which is a little bit anomalous, but overall it's still a pretty consistent transfer. You do get a new Atmos track and the original mono track, which is not a track that's been included very often on physical media. It does carry over a commentary track. It has a new 23-minute craft retrospective, so it talks about some of the craft elements and various featurettes. There are a few things like some documentaries and stuff on, like, I think Cary Grant that haven't been carried over, but overall a good number of the features have been carried over, and there are some newer additions to this. So North by Northwest, another good 4K release, and one of the biggest 4K releases, also one of the more controversial 4K releases, is the James Cameron's release of The Terminator. So, yes, this is the original Terminator. I don't think I have to go into it that much. It's a sci-fi classic. But it is a James Cameron 4K release, which means it has controversy. We had him finally releasing True Lies and The Abyss and Aliens earlier this year through Disney. And those releases were, even like I talked about it at the time, were very uneven, to be generous, and kind of horrible, to be blunt at some point. True Lies especially. This once again uses some of his kind of what seems to be patented AI technology recently to kind of upscale this to 4K. This seems to be like a pre-existing master that's been upscaled to 4K. I don't love this in terms of, like, I wish he would stop doing this to his films. It is not necessary. Just do the normal restoration process and let film look like film. That is not James Cameron's MO. That's not what he wants to do. So does this look bad? No, it doesn't. It's closer to kind of how I felt about The Abyss. This is a release that looks way too crisp and clean to be a film from this era, which a lot of people will love. They will love that it looks almost like looking through a window quality. And it does contain some digital grain to make it look less fake looking, like True Lies did. But it looks good. It's probably the best it has looked, but it is also not perfect because there are like weird AI anomalies where the technology is still learning. It's not quite perfected. You will see kind of some globular stuff here and there, and things just look slightly off because it is AI. But this is kind of the best version that we've seen from James Cameron yet. So the technology is getting better. I just wish we did not have this technology as like I think it is good used as a tool to help certain restorations, like fill in like things that have been like lost to time where you need a little bit of digital finessing. But I would rather it actually be like a traditional 4K scan of the original camera negative that is cleaned up, like with respectful tools and all that kind of stuff that makes it look like the original filmic qualities. But overall looks good. I think this is in Dolby Vision. This is one of the Warner, because it's Cameron. I think he has the power to be like, give it Dolby Vision. It got Dolby Vision. This has a new Atmos track, but more importantly, I think one of the selling points of this release is it has the original mono, which I don't think it's had in decades. So you do get the original mono, which I think will be a selling point for a lot of people. You also get some good number of special features, including 3 featurettes and a deleted scenes. This is once again missing some special features from previous releases, but there are a good number of features on here. So Terminator, flawed once again from Cameron, but still a good release overall. Just depends on how much your hatred for AI burns like a passion. My next title is from Sony. It is The Forge, which is a faith-based movie, which is not my favorite genre, if I'm being honest. I have complicated feelings about religion at times, and this movie is definitely kind of like very, very faith-forward. It is about a young man who is kind of adrift in life. He's kind of not really not really doing anything with his life, just kind of laying at home, playing video games, and his mom kind of rousts him to kind of get a job at this kind of warehouse place that he ends up finding Jesus and finding like the power of faith to turn your life around, and how it kind of demonizes video games. Like, if you get rid of video games, you can start actually living your life. It's kind of very regressive in that. Like, what are we, like in the 1980s scare of video games? But anyway, this is very kind of just very faith heavy, very like pounding you over the head of just like the power of Jesus, what good it can do for you. It's also very capitalistic, because like the finale of this movie is like how awesome it is that this guy can like spend so much time in a warehouse to get something accomplished on time. Like, it's weird, but not my favorite movie. I think for if you're a audience who loves faith-based movies, I think you will love this. This is from the creators of like The War Room and Courageous, which are very big in that community. And apparently it has 100% on like the Rotten Tomatoes audience score. So people who saw it loved it. I am just not quite. I am not that audience. I like to watch some of these movies at times when, like, kind of ironically, like around Easter usually, if it has someone like a actor or someone that I really love, like Miracles from Heaven with Jennifer Garner. It was something we watched for Easter this year. That's more along the lines. If it has like a star drawing me to this, I'll give it a little bit more leeway. But the performers, like, it's kind of, they do good for this genre, just not the best. Transfer's good, like, looks good, sounds great. And you have a commentary track, making of, featurette, you have deleted scenes, you have bloopers, you have a good number of special features. So if you're in the faith-based audience, The Forge is a good release. If you're not, this isn't going to convert you. Like, find your religion elsewhere is all what I'll say. But going into a more promising road for me especially is the Ocean Distribution Vinegar Syndrome partner label family. This is one of my favorite aspects of physical media to explore every single month. And the first one, staying in the theme of religion, very different though, is the Yellow Veil Pictures release of The Book of Birdie. This is about a young girl who is left at a convent with some nuns to kind of by her mom to kind of like protect her from work, because she can't kind of take care of her. And it's kind of a coming of age tale, kind of a folk tale. There's a lot of folk tales in the mix this week. Got some essays and stuff here in the booklet. So it's a young girl kind of coming of age in this kind of convent and exploring her body, exploring her sexuality when she meets another young girl who she starts to bond with. And this is kind of positioned as more of a horror film. It's more surrealistic and fairy tale like, and because she has visions, like surreal visions, such as like a nun hanging from a tree that she has conversations with, like a cheery nun who's like has a noose around her neck, hanging from a tree that she goes out and has conversations with. And there's a lot of blood in this movie. She has like a lot of, if you're queasy about menstrual blood for some reason, just know there's a lot of that in here, and like dealing with that and just leaving blood places. It is a very kind of dreamy movie. I like the vibes of it. It's very offbeat, and it's kind of a refreshing entry into kind of this world, and I quite liked it. The Blu-ray looks nice. Good transfer. It's a 2017 movie, and it's HD transfer. It looks great. Maybe minor bits of Black Crush sometimes in the shadows, but overall it's pretty solid transfer. Good audio, good number of special features, including there's an intro from the director, a commentary track, some interviews, a making of featurette, a video essay, deleted scenes. Yellow Veil Pictures done a very nice job with this. So The Book of Birdie, if the premise interests you at all, check it out. And more on the coming of age spectrum. This one was interesting for me because I went into it without reading the synopsis. I just went in blind. I just knew it was a film movement movie called 20,000 Species of Bees. So this is a Spanish movie. And it took me about 30 minutes into the movie to kind of realize what this was going for. What I knew about the movie, or what I observed about the movie, is about a young girl and her family going to stay with extended family in the country who work like kind of like on a bee farm, and they were kind of just going to come of age in the countryside and stuff. So it took me about 30 minutes into the movie after just kind of just the story unfolding to realize what this actually, the point of the narrative is the young girl here is a trans girl who is constantly kind of struggling with her family of just being misgendered and like not being kind of accepted with who she wants to be. She is kind of trying to figure out, like, because she's an 8-year-old girl. She's like, no one, with her being so young, no one really takes her seriously as a girl, and just her trying to figure out like what is going on with her, what her femininity is, and kind of leads to her own family kind of dealing with their own femininity and what they kind of confronting some of their own issues within their own family. So it is based around this young 8-year-old girl, but there's also a larger family dynamic happening of how her presence in this family kind of just interweaves within everyone and just brings up kind of old family issues and all that kinds of stuff. It is very rewarding. I really loved it. This young girl, she is a fantastic child performer, just one of the better ones that I've seen in recent years. And the film, it's pretty lengthy, like 2 hours and 8 minutes long, but I never felt bored by it. I was constantly engaged by it. It's very impactful. And it's just one that really snuck up on me. And what I wanted to note is, not knowing it was the movie that it was for that long, I think it goes to the power of how subtle and respectful the storytelling was. Because the director did not go out of the way to be like, this is like an issue movie, like this is what we're talking about. It was more natural and trying to just like let these characters be characters and let their lives unfold naturally. And I really love that about that. And I think it made it even more powerful for me. I know you won't have the same experience if you have not seen the movie, because you now know what it's about, but it is very much worth checking out if it sounds interesting to you at all. Film Movement, this is a brand new movie. It came out earlier this year in the US, and it's gorgeous. HD transfer, original language track, optional English subtitles. You get a extra short film, but other than that, no other special features. But the short film's about 30 minutes long, and this is a good addition. So 20,000 Species of Bees, very much worth checking out. Saying more in that territory of communities that are always not treated fairly, this is from Film Movement Classics, Bent. This is a older film starring Clive Owen. I believe this is one of his first films. And this is set during World War II. This is like a Holocaust drama, but from more of the perspective of the queer community rather than the Jewish community, even though there, of course, was some overlap. So it's based on a classic play that was originated. The original role was originated by Ian McKellen, who does appear in the movie, but the main role is played by Clive Owen. And it's just about him and his partner being shipped off to a concentration camp, and all the tragedies that unfold, but kind of also the reflection upon self that happens within this world. And just, it's very powerful. It's a tough watch, of course, given the subject matter, but I think it is a very powerful one, and it is very much worth checking out. It has some interesting people show up, including Mick Jagger has a small role at the beginning. Kind of also, if you've ever seen Cabaret, like the Master of Ceremony, he has kind of that kind of presence at the beginning. And he also has a music video as a special feature on this for a song that he contributed to the movie. This particular movie and the release was released in 2019. This has been re-released this year with a new slipcover through the OCN Distribution Vinegar Syndrome collaboration. So you can get a new slipcover on the Vinegar Syndrome website, or specific indie retailers like Orbit or Diabolic and stuff. So pay attention to that if you, for some reason, don't want to order through the Vinegar Syndrome website, which they will be having a huge Black Friday sale. So all these partner label titles that I'm talking about, you can bundle them up with some sale titles and new editions that will be coming out on Black Friday. So do not miss that if you're a Vinegar Syndrome fan. So this is the same 2019 release. It looks nice. It's from an HD transfer that holds up very well. You do have a 12-minute behind-the-scenes featurette, a 7-minute or 7 interviews, 7 different very short interviews with different like cast members and stuff, and then you had the music video that I talked about. So Bent, if like I said, if the subject matter interests you, check this one out. It is a tough watch, being World War II era Holocaust stuff, but very much worth checking out if any of it intrigues you. Going over to Shudder, from the partner label Shudder, one of our favorites. This is Saloum. So this is I believe a Senegalese movie. I know it ends up in Senegal, and it is a horror film, but it is kind of light on scares, but it is intriguing. It deals with this kind of mercenary group who are transporting a kind of a drug dealer to safety on a plane, but their plane malfunctions during the trip, and they have to land early and go into this village where one of them actually has a history with that, and it kind of delves into that history, and it kind of weaves in Senegalese mysticism and all this stuff. And there are some like supernatural elements that are woven in here that it is effective, but I don't think it's necessarily terrifying. I think it's a more intriguing movie than a scary movie. I think it's very rich with kind of the culture, and especially since you don't get a ton of movies from this area of the world, I think that it is very much worth a watch. But this might be one that maybe you get on Shudder and try before you buy, if you're kind of picky about your horror films, or if you're like need something that's going to like scare the bejesus out of you. I don't think this one will necessarily do it, but it is an engaging watch for sure. It is a newer film. HD transfer looks nice. Audio sounds good. You do get, in terms of special features, you do get a commentary track and a trailer. So not loaded with special features, but you do get some. And I showed off the booklet and stuff that you get and everything. So overall, good release from Shudder. You can get a slipcover on all the places that I talked about before. So check that out if you are a fan of slipcovers or anything of that sort. My next title, going back to Film Movement Classics, we have Takeshi Kitano, a double feature of Violent Cop and Boiling Point. So these are the two first directorial features from Beat Takeshi Kitano. Violent Cop is more so kind of in the Dirty Harry-esque phase, where it's like he plays a cop who is trying to take down a drug dealer, and he is kind of unhinged, and it's really violent, really unpredictable and fun. It's dark, but it's entertaining. Boiling Point, it mixes the kind of crime genre with sports genre. It's set around kind of like a baseball team where one of the members accidentally picks a fight with a member of a gangster outfit that he should not have, and chaos ensues for his life. And that one's interesting because it really changes focus points, like focal characters throughout quite a bit. Both of these are very interesting, very entertaining. I like them both. These both seem to be previously released separately in 2016 with a third movie that is not part of this set. But this seems like to be the same 2016 releases. They look great. This has like some featurettes on each disc and some trailers. But overall, if you missed these previously, great movies, definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of Japanese cinema. One of my weirder titles that I'm talking about is Adam Green's Aladdin. This is from Cartoona. I do not know Adam Green, and so I did not quite know what I was getting into, but it is kind of that your classic Arabian Nights tale, but it is done on kind of like a lo-fi sensibility. All the backgrounds are paper mache. You have some notable names here. This was, I believe, in 2016. This came out. This doesn't have any essays, I don't think. This just has like pictures from things. You can kind of get a little bit more of a sense of what this movie is doing. But this does have some notable names like Alia Shawkat, Natasha Lyonne, Macaulay Culkin, a more adult Macaulay Culkin in here, and Jack Dishel, Nicole Liberté. It has like a quality of like friends getting together to create something weird and wild, and I don't quite know how to describe it as kind of except for like a fever dream. But it is one that if you get on the wavelength, I think it'll probably be like one of your new favorite cult films. It is not for everyone, but for those who get on board of like the mixture of like paper mache animation and live action and this kind of like stunted delivery of dialogue and just like surreality of like the narrative, I think you'll dig it. And this release is great. HD transfer is very nice. Even though it's like kind of more of a low budget thing, it looks great on Blu-ray. So I think fans will be appreciative of that. You do get some behind the scenes stuff, numerous music videos, Q&A, all kinds of stuff in here. There's also a very minor cameo from musician Regina Spektor, who I really love. I've seen her a couple times in concert. So a lot of interesting things going on in here, even though it might not be for everyone. My final partner label title is a documentary from ETR Media, and that is perfect for this time of year. I Am Santa Claus. This is actually a film I had previously on Blu-ray from Virgil Media. So I never thought I needed to upgrade that release, but I will say this is a pretty cool release from ETR Media. That is wrestler Mick Foley, Mankind, Cactus Jack. You may know him by many names, but the main plight of this, like the main draw of this is it's a examination of like what it actually means to be Santa Claus. Like it follows a lot of different people who play Santa Claus and just them going through training, going about their everyday lives, how it impacts them emotionally, how they have to prepare to interact with kids, all that kind of stuff. But we are entering through this world through Mick Foley, who has a immense love of Christmas, who has always wanted to be a legitimate Santa Claus, and really kind of immerses himself into this world to figure out what it actually means to be Santa Claus, what that responsibility personally is, and what it means, like how you can impact the world and how it will impact you. And that is really interesting. It's a really good documentary. Not all of these Saint Nicks are saintly. There are some very interesting Santas in here. Some that kind of get a little bit, like when they are not playing Santa, a little too unruly and say some weird things. There's some queer Santas in here, which I found refreshing. And just seeing some of that, like seeing a range of Santas, I think is really interesting. But not all the Santas always get along and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. And in terms of video quality for this one, it seems pretty similar to the previous Blu-ray release. Where this really will get you is the new special features. It does carry over some of the special features. There's a commentary track. There are new interviews with the Santas who are in here, which I think is one of the main selling points. You do get some deleted scenes and all kinds of just like odds and ends here that I think if you do not own this yet, I think this is definitely the version to get from ETR Media. I Am Santa Claus. It's a fun documentary for this time of year. It's a little bit something different for your holiday viewing whenever you're not wanting to watch just like It's a Wonderful Life or Christmas Vacation. This is a little bit something, still keeps you in the holiday mood, but it's a little bit off the beaten path. Now heading over to a trio of Arrow video films. One of my favorite labels, love everything they put out. The first release, super highly anticipated and also pretty good for this time of year. This is set right around the holiday season. That is A Simple Plan from Sam Raimi. So this is him outside of the horror genre. So this is reversible cover art here. So not doing his Evil Dead films, not doing Spider-Man, not doing Drag Me to Hell. This is just Sam Raimi doing a Fargo-esque crime film. Very bleak, but very entertaining. You have Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton, and Bridget Fonda here as Bill Paxton's wife. About a group of friends who are out in the woods, find a crashed airplane with a like $4 million of money in there, and how that kind of sets them on a path towards doom of just like how money corrupts and all that kind of thing. So it's a narrative you've seen before, but it's through Sam Raimi's lens, so it has a very fresh quality to it. And these performers giving some of the best performances of their careers. They're all great. Billy Bob Thornton's character, he will infuriate you, but also break your heart because he is so naive and childlike that you feel bad for him, but also he makes some decisions that make you just want to wring his neck. But this movie, great, and this is once again a movie that had not received a Blu-ray release domestically, so this is a big upgrade for it. This is also being released on Blu-ray, but this is, if you get the 4K, you get the 4K disc. There's a separate Blu-ray version if you are not 4K capable. This has been restored by Arrow Video from a 4K restoration remaster of the original camera negative. Looks fantastic. I believe this is encoded by Fidelity in Motion. It looks terrific. Dolby Vision, 2 new commentary tracks from film historians, 3 new interviews with craftspeople and actors. You get archival featurettes. This is a home run of a release for people who have been waiting for A Simple Plan. They really, really did a great job on this. Great year for Sam Raimi on 4K, and it just keeps continuing with The Gift from Scream Factory here in a week or two. And we had Darkman earlier this year. And Drag Me to Hell. So many great Sam Raimi releases. So excited. Going back to kind of the horror sci-fi realm in Arrow Video, this is The Invasion with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. This is on 4K. So reversible cover art is here, and this is from their Warner Brothers deal. And so this was I believe a 2007 film, and I won't go into it too much because it is a new adaptation of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which we just talked about the original from Kino about a month or so back. Here's a reversible cover art, or reversible poster, 2-sided poster here. So this is the latest take on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it is not the best version because there are so many classics that have come out from this story, but I think this one is a bit underrated. This one takes more of a kind of pandemic approach to this material, which they kind of go into in the visual essays on here. But this is also a movie that was compromised by the studio, and the director didn't really see eye to eye. So I wish we maybe could have seen a director's cut of this, but as stands, this theatrical cut of The Invasion, it's fairly entertaining. It takes more of a action-oriented slant, more than kind of the mysterious, thriller slant that a lot of previous adaptations took. So it's a little bit something different. I love Nicole Kidman. She's great in this. It has a great cast. Besides Daniel Craig, there's Jeffrey Wright. A lot of interesting people show up here. So this is a 4K upscale of the 2K digital intermediate conducted by Arrow Video. So this has been was 2K DI upscaled to 4K, finished with Dolby Vision. this is a really nice looking transfer. The old Blu-ray was ancient. I believe that was from an ancient codec that did not really hold up very well. So you do get this 4K Dolby Vision, looks really great. Even if it is an upscale, it looks the best it ever has by far. It handles the black levels a lot better than the ancient Blu-ray. I think fans of this film will be very pleased. You get a DTS 5.1 track. You do get some new special features, as I alluded to. You get a commentary track, 2 visual essays, and some archival featurettes. So good work from Arrow Video. May not be one that everyone was clamoring for on 4K, but it is a very good 4K release, and those who are fans will be very pleased by the quality of this one. My final Arrow Video title is a Blu-ray, and is the J-horror title Tomie. So this follows on the heels of the J-horror set that they just released last month. This fits nicely in there, where it's about a young Japanese girl spirit who can, whenever she is attempted to be killed, she can regenerate. If there's like even like a sliver of a body part left, she can regenerate and kind of haunt people. So it's basically that standard premise of, or standard trope of this girl kind of coming back and messing up a lot of people's lives, and trying to get revenge in some spots, and make other connections in others. This is one of the more slower J-horror movies. It takes a while to get ramped up. Overall, I think it's good, not great. I seen a lot better J-horror, but it is an interesting premise, and I've heard that the sequels are a little bit more interesting at points. If they release more of these, I'm totally down to watch more. So this is pretty decent. This comes from an HD transfer provided by Kadokawa, and it's also a pretty solid transfer. It's not like super crisp and clear, but it's a perfectly solid HD transfer, and that's not a lot of damage or anything. It's just not like super textured and detailed, but it overall is solid. 5.1 and 2.0 track, commentary track, 3 new interviews with some of the talent and archival materials. So if you're a fan of J-horror, Tomie will hit the spot, but maybe not for those who are just like experimenting with the genre. Maybe go with something more established first. Heading into another one of my absolute favorite labels. It is Deaf Crocodile and their first 4K release ever of Trapped Ashes. So I believe this is a 2006 film. This is the J card that is removable. So there's the back there, and the J card just kind of mimics that, the front. So you got this nice hard case that they're deluxe. This is their deluxe editions. If you order a standard edition, you'll just get this kind of case, but deluxe edition, you get a booklet here, which I'll show off here. It is thick. It is so many essays and reflections, and so those are kind of all the main things you're getting, and you got so many essays and all that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff going on in here. If you get the deluxe edition, you get that booklet. You get 4K and Blu-ray disc. There does not seem to be a Blu-ray standalone. If you need special features transcribed, they have a code here that you can get the special features that are on the disc transcribed. I try to cover that to avoid kind of giving those away for free. And so this is a horror anthology, and It has some very notable names here. You have the likes of Joe Dante doing the wraparound. You have the great Ken Russell, Sean S. Cunningham, who did the original Friday the 13th. You have Monty Williams and John Gatta. So some heavy hitters here. It is about a group of people who find themselves kind of trapped in a studio lot, it's kind of like akin to like if you went to visit the Bates Motel, like the Psycho House, on the Universal lot. If you got stuck in the Psycho House and just had to tell kind of like a horrific story in order to get yourself out. So each of the characters are telling something horrific that happened to them, and you get each of those stories. And this is a pretty solid horror anthology, but there is a lot about it that doesn't appeal to my particular taste. The Ken Russell one, that in particular, is a little bit too gross for my taste, but I think that'll really please a lot of horror hounds out there. It deals with like vampiric boobs, which it definitely delivers. It's wild. It's a weird like a breast implant goes very awry. And then you also have some stuff going on over in Japan, and like the kind of a Suicide Forest-esque tale, and some weird necrophilic stuff going on, and then some parasitic twin stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in this movie that's weird and wild. And there's even one that's kind of a little bit more toned down, that has like allusions to like a friendship with someone having a friendship with Stanley Kubrick. But even that has its own kind of witchy twist about it. And so it's an interesting collection of movies. I don't love all of the entries equally, but they're all interesting, and knowing that they are from like seeing these through the lens of these horror icons, it's interesting to see these little bits of work, which some of them were like some of the last works they ever put out. So in terms of horror anthologies, it's solid. I enjoyed it. It's just like with every horror anthology, there's some things that work for you, there's some things that don't, and that's with all of them for me. There's some that really hit it out of the park, and some that maybe just do not appeal to your particular taste. But I was thrilled to be able to check this out on 4K. Their first 4K, like I mentioned, in Dolby Vision. This is a solid 4K disc. It is not one that I think will. It's a 4K restoration of the combination of the original 35mm original camera negative and interpositive material. This is a very, very good presentation that I think allows this film to look the best that it possibly can. That being said, is it the most like crisp and clear production that I've ever seen? No, but it is a solid, like really good presentation of this material that I think is inherently a little bit softer in nature. The colors are very nice in Dolby Vision. The grade is great. Everything looks very nice. I think, like I said, it is the best that this film can look, I believe, because everyone at Deaf Crocodile always puts the utmost care into their transfers. So this was an interesting choice for their first 4K release. I'm glad they're delving into 4K. And I look forward to getting many more great titles from them in 4K, along with their quality Blu-ray releases, of which I'll talk about 2 more here in a little bit. In terms of special features, you get some extended versions of 2 of the tales, like a director's cut of one tale and like a more extended version of another. Both of those are in standard definition. You do get a commentary track, a visual essay, archival making of documentary, packed with special features, great 4K presentation, interesting movie, Trapped Ashes. Deaf Crocodile has done a nice job with this one. And they've also done a nice job with Tamala 2010, A Punk Cat in Space. This is another deluxe edition version. Remove the J card here, and you will see the back. This is a Japanese movie, and this was made in the 2000s. You get, here's the what you would get if you just do the standard version, and if you get the deluxe version, you get this hardcover and another very thick booklet with some great essays. And so get some essays and notes about the transfer. So get a little bit of what's going on in here. This one is a very trippy movie. It's about what seems to be an immortal kitty, along the vein of like a Hello Kitty, but with a much more spunky attitude, who is kind of time hopping through like through space, through like here's the transcribed special features that I mentioned on the previous one. So you have this kitty kind of making her way through different time periods, trying to make her way back home, dealing with the boot of capitalism on her neck, and just it's a very surrealistic tale. They compared it to The Crying of Lot 49, the Thomas Pynchon novel on the back, and I understand that it's a very a movie that is very much critiquing consumerism and society and capitalism and all that kind of stuff, and all within this kind of punk. It lives up to its title. It's a very punk kitty, the character, and just like she is not always so wholesome. She swears and gets into sexual situations, and this is kind of a very acerbic movie, but very entertaining. And this Blu-ray looks fantastic. Very most of the movie is in black and white with like kind of interesting like interludes that aren't usually the super colorful, but usually like space, like black of space type things, but everything kind of sticks to what its intended pigment is. You do get two short films that continues this character's journeys. You get a commentary track, interviews, visual essays, another packed release from Deaf Crocodile. They do a nice job here. My final Deaf Crocodile title, I warned you, I have so many boutique label releases that I'm so excited to delve into. The next one is The Outcasts. So this is going back to the 1980s. This is more in the folk horror genre, though light on horror, but still kind of, it's Irish lore of, it's set in Ireland, and it is about a young girl who's kind of like the outsider in a village. Here's the QR code for the transcribed special features. An outsider in a village who is kind of seen like she is basically accused of being a witch, and how that impacts her and her family and her community, and what happens when she meets other bands of outsiders who kind of solidify in other people's minds that the fact that she is a witch. So this is the deluxe edition booklet. So it is a tale of like classic outsider, it's called The Outcast, outsider tendencies, and just how the stigma of witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, how it kind of impacts you, and how you can't kind of run away from whenever you're kind of marked by society as someone who is different, and how that kind of unravels. This very good Irish movie. I was very enchanted with it. It's not, like I said, it's not the most horrific, but it kind of leaves you a little bit unsettled by the end. This has been very much out of circulation for decades. It's been very hard to find. Only a few like people who maybe saw it on its original run ever got to see it, but it's now been rescued. It's been restored by the Irish Film Foundation. It has been given a 4K restoration that was finished in 2K. It was originally filmed in 16mm, blown up to 35mm, so they were working off those elements. This includes a commentary track, 2 interviews, 4 8mm short films that are very rare, and another tribute short from the director. So really good looking transfer. Restoration looks great. Audio sounds good. This has been one that has, like I said, not been the most widely available, but now you get the chance to watch it in great quality thanks to Deaf Crocodile. And just like having these 3 like box sets together, like they're so heavy and nice, like you just got to appreciate like one of the best labels out there in the game right now. Speaking of great packaging and staying on my witchy grind, we have we're coming over to Australia, and we're importing the imprint release of Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria. This is a 4K release starring Dakota Johnson and Tilda Swinton and Chloe Grace Moretz and a lot of other great people, and Tilda Swinton again. If you watch the movie, you'll know. So here's the 4K disc in its own kind of packaging. You don't get exactly reversible cover art, but here's the cover art that's underneath that you cannot see because of the black case. But this is a reimagining, I would say, of the classic Dario Argento movie. But it still kind of keeps the same conceit of witches and a dance school and all the mysteries that reside within this dance school. Now, I will not be bold and say this is better than the original Suspiria, but I will say this is one of the rare cases where like I am not at all mad that they chose to give this another spin, because Luca Guadagnino does a very nice job on this adaptation of this material. It's a lot longer. It's like 2.5 hours long, and it really makes the most of its premise. Here's like the card that's on the bottom whenever you get it. So that's like here. I just kind of tuck that in here. It's a fantastic horror movie, and just the crafts are insane. The performances are great. This is one that I had wanted to own for a long time, but there's Mia Goth, who people might know best from Pearl and Maxine and X. So lots of great stuff going on here. So I had wanted to own this for a long time. The Blu-ray I never got from Lionsgate over here, and then I think it went out of print, and then I saw that Imprint was doing this 4K release, and I was like, hell yes, I have to own this. And I know it's been released on 4K previously in other countries like Germany, but those releases, I believe, had some minor issues here and there. I know some countries had some color timing issues, and some had subtitle issues. I think from everything I've looked at, this seems to kind of correct everything and kind of present it in its best version. They announced that they corrected any subtitle issues. The color timing seems very natural. This is in HDR10, and it looks really great. I think they were going to attempt to add Dolby Vision at one time, but it didn't pan out. But the HDR10 looks great. You do get a Dolby Atmos track, as well as a 5.1 track and a 2.0 track. You do get a new interview with the editor, commentary track, new commentary track, archival featurettes, 3 video essays, packed release. The only reason I would not like this packaging is because it's a little bit more shelf space. It probably could have been a little bit more condensed, but it looks so good, I cannot be mad at it. It's a thick case, 3 discs of great content, 4K copy, Blu-ray copy, and then a whole disc for special features. If you're a fan of this film, this is the way to own it right now. So in this Imprint, Via Vision, that family, they do not region lock. So this is free to play in US players. You do not have to get a region free player, but also 4K disc. Most of those play in 4K players regardless. So either way you're set, but you can play the Blu-ray, like the bonus features and stuff, on American players. So be aware of that. Suspiria fans, really great release of that one. And speaking of can play on US players, Doppelganger from Via Vision, another Australian import. This is a worldwide debut of this Drew Barrymore film, which I was hoping to have in time for Halloween. It didn't quite make it because my wife is a huge Drew Barrymore fan, but I'm glad to own it because this is the worldwide debut of this movie. It is a wild one. This is Drew Barrymore playing a girl who is kind of on the run, been accused of killing her mother, but she believes herself to have a doppelganger, an evil version of herself that's like kind of haunts her. And is that the case? I don't know, but I will show you some of these pictures that maybe will kind of clue you into some stuff. But this is a weird, wild movie. Is it great? No. Is it fun? Yes. It's Drew Barrymore in her kind of weird transition period where she was kind of still hanging on to her kind of unsupervised teenage time where she was like way too into partying. It was like a young teenager / barely preteen. And she kind of was kind of adrift in the early 90s and played a lot of mature roles, showed some skin and stuff, which she does in this movie. And she got into some weird things, but she fully commits to this, and I respect the hell out of her for it because she plays like several different types of character in this. Like she's very demure at points, and she can be very extra and like homicidal at points. So this is a weird one, but I'm glad to have it on Blu-ray. But it is an older master. It does not look fantastic, but it looks perfectly solid for like an older master on Blu-ray. Will it ever get a upgrade in the US that maybe is remastered? Maybe, but for now, I'm glad that I know that I own this on Blu-ray. No real special features besides a photo gallery and a theatrical trailer, but in terms of just purely having it on Blu-ray with good enough video and audio quality, this will do the trick. My next, I'm doing a trio of titles. I'll probably do them all at once. These are from 88 Films. We have Facets of Love, The Kid from Kwangtung, and the Kung Fu Instructor. So these are 3 Shaw Brothers films, and they kind of all are released kind of similarly. It's a reversible cover art. This is the odd man out where you have this is a story about a brothel and an evil brothel owner. She like kind of tricks women into working there and kind of confines them into stuff. This is very quote unquote sexy for a Shaw Brothers films. Lots of nudity and stuff going on here, and it's fairly entertaining if you like more of like the erotic Shaw Brothers movies. I think Facets of Love will entertain you. It also has a very young Jackie Chan in one of his first roles is in here. You also have more traditional Shaw Brothers fare, more like martial arts oriented. You have The Kid from Kwangtung. That's the reversible cover art here. And this is more a little bit supernatural at points, but just about these people who their master gets killed and them having to kind of prepare for their own potential demise and trying to get prepared for like this evil person who is like going to try to kill them. A lot of great martial arts stuff here, but this is more slapsticky than a lot of Shaw Brothers stuff. I mean, I know a lot of Shaw Brothers stuff, if you watch enough, can be silly and very slapsticky, but this leans very comedic, but there's also some good action stuff going on. And finally, the most serious and martial arts focus is the Kung Fu Instructor, which once again, that's the reversible cover. So this is just kind of your standard gun for hire who like comes into town kind of Yojimbo-esque of just like trying to be hired to help someone kind of attain supremacy and not really adhering necessarily to like one side or the other. Like neither side is great, but there's some great action set pieces and all that stuff going on here. So it's pretty decent. All of these are good, solid films. If you're a Shaw Brothers fan, you'll enjoy it. All these are like, you'll see each of these got four postcards and not much in the way of special features. So these are all HD transfers from the original film elements. They all look pretty solid. I believe the best looking one is Kung Fu Instructor, but all of them are solid, and they have the original Mandarin on Facets of Love, original Cantonese on the Kid from Kwangtung, and Kung Fu Instructor has Mandarin. In terms of special features, you only get still galleries and trailers. So pretty basic, back to basics, like no frills releases from 88 Films. But if you're a Shaw Brothers fan, there's no doubt that these films look the best they ever have. So this trio of films from 88 Films, check them out. Just a couple more films. We have from Sony, the Blu-ray release of You Can't Run Away From It. This is technically the first time it's been released on Blu-ray, but not the first time it's been released on physical media, because it was included as a bonus film on the Columbia Classics Volume 3 set to It Happened One Night, which this is basically a musical remake of. Not as good by any stretch of the means. So that classic originally had Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. Here you have June Allyson and Jack Lemmon. It hits pretty much all the same beats, but just including some musical numbers. It's fine, but it's not particularly, like, when you can watch It Happen One Night, you might as well just go watch the original, and because the songs aren't necessarily a draw. The performances, if you love the performers, they're fine. They just do not have that sparkle of the original cast members. So as I mentioned, this was originally on the 4K release, the 4K disc of It Happened One Night. The only difference, and the only reason I would say that maybe you should get that if you had the other release, is that 4K presentation on the 4K disc is an HD presentation on 4K. That has lossy audio, Dolby Digital 2.0 audio. This has DTS 2.0 audio, lossless audio. So maybe slightly refined audio. Is it enough for you to invest in a whole new disc that is bare bones otherwise? I don't know, but this is technically the best version of itself. The HD transfer looks great. No audio issues, but no special features. So very bare bones. If you just want the movie, if you didn't get the Columbia Classics Volume 3 set, you can own the remake, but you're going to want to watch It Happen One Night in 4K, so you should go back and get that 4K set, especially since right now, during Black Friday, it is like super cheap. It's like $60-something right now from what I've seen in some places, so look for that. It's a fantastic set. I'm not even covering that this week, but check that out. But you can't run away from it. If you're a hardcore fan, check it out. My final film, just in time for us to really ramp up after Thanksgiving. A Christmas movie is the 4K upgrade of Last Christmas with Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding. This is from director Paul Feig. And this is about Emilia Clarke, who people might know best from Game of Thrones. She plays a young woman who is kind of adrift, kind of a mess, trying to get her life back on track, meeting a special guy who is a little bit mysterious and stuff, and I won't spoil it from there, but you just kind of go on their journey together of just like her building her life back after like she had some struggles with health issues for a while, and just like trying to get back from that and mend fences with her family, including her mom, played by Emma Thompson, who co-wrote the movie. And we have Michelle Yeoh as the shop owner who is employing her. Really great cast. I saw this in theaters, which was the last time I had seen this, back in 2019, I believe. At the time, I didn't really love it, but it has grown on me with with the benefit of time, knowing what happens in the movie, accepting what happens in the movie, and just like accepting this movie on its own terms. I think it's a very pleasant movie overall. I'm glad to own it on 4K. It's a nice boost from the Blu-ray, which was already great, but especially a movie set at Christmas times, you want that bright, colorful HDR. HDR10, not Dolby Vision, unfortunately, but HDR10 looks fantastic. Crisp, clear picture, carries over all the previous special features, including 2 commentary tracks, alternate ending, deleted scenes, various featurettes. If you don't own it yet, 4K is the way to go. If you're thinking about upgrading, it is a nice upgrade, but it just depends on how much you love the movie if you're wanting to upgrade. But Last Christmas on 4K, if you're a Christmas movie fan, which I am, worth checking out. Whew. Thank you for sticking with me this long. If you have, apologies to my editor, Fritz. They will get an extra Christmas present this year for this one. This has been such a fun time. If you enjoyed it, please comment, share this with anyone you think might love it as well. Make sure you're subscribed. I do this every week. It's not always this long, but it's sometimes pretty long. I have a lot of great releases to cover every week. Make sure to keep coming back. I will keep doing this. I hope you keep watching it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you next week. But until that time, enjoy these movies.
I'm clever to feel and expensive to love. You remind me of somebody nice.
Come with me on a flying rug ride.
I like it up here away from all those cameras.
Too many gods always blocking our view.
Ciao, birds.
Level after level of heaven after heaven. I'm your Pegasus, dollface.
I dare you to respect me more than I do you.
Sexuality is in balance. Perhaps it's nice to live in a world dominated by gravity.